Hello everyone, Rupanjali here. Welcome to my page again. In this video, we'll be discussing the next part of the chapter of economics, that is development. And today's topic that we are taking up is Human Development Report and the sustainability of development. So let's go on with the first topic, Human Development Report. It is a report issued by the United Nations. It is issued by United Nations Development Program, UNDP. Okay, once it is realized that even though the level of income is important, yet it is an inadequate measures of the level of development, we begin to think of other criterion. In our previous videos, we have learned about income is the one category of comparing countries for in terms of development. And then we have learned that income is not only the factor or the condition that can compare countries. We have learned through examples of the state of Haryana, Kerala, and Bihar, with certain other criteria regarding the health, education, etc. Similarly, in course of time, when people could realize that income cannot be the only important factor of development, various other criteria started to develop. So, over a decade, health and education became the most important indicators. It is being used for measuring the development along with the income of the country. The Human Development Report, it is published by UNDP. It compares countries based on the educational level and levels of the people of a particular country, their health status, and their per capita income. So, under this United Nations Development Report, UNDP report, it actually discuss about how developed is a country in terms of education, how developed is a country in terms of health status, and how developed is a country in terms of per capita income. So, we'll be discussing about the report with a comparison of different countries in the table given. Before going that, we need to know how do we know the health condition of the particular country. Okay. To know about the health condition of the particular country, the how country is developed in the terms of health, we need to know about the health of the citizens. We need to know about nutritious requirement of a particular nutrition requirement of the particular citizens of a country and how much they are being getting it. So, are they nourished properly or are they malnourished? So, to know about the nourishment of the people of a particular country, nutrition scientists call body mass index as the main way of identifying the nourishment of a particular group of people. So, what is BMI or body mass index? How do we actually calculate it? For calculating the BMI, we will need the height and weight of a particular individual. If we take example of a classroom, in that case, we have to take the weight of each student in kilogram. Then we have to measure the height of a child, keeping the head straight. We will definitely get this measurement in centimeter, which we have to convert it into meters. After getting the weight in kilogram and height converted into centimeters, we have to convert the height into square. Okay. So, once we get the square of the height, we have to divide weight in kilogram of the individual by the height square of the individual. The data or the number that we will get will be called the BMI. Okay. To know about the nourishment of a particular child based on the BMI data, we need to follow the table that is being given in the end of your book in such a way, like BMI index for the girls is between 14 to 18, and another the body mass index of the adolescent boys, again between age 14 to 18. So it has been given in the end of your book as appendix 1 and 2. So accordingly you can find out whether you comes under the nourishment uh, or malnourished, or you are well nourished. So according to that, if suppose a girl student is 14 years and 8 months old and the BMI is 15.2, then she is undernourished. Similarly, the BMI of a boy is 15 years and the 6 month is 28, then he is overweight. Okay, we got this from the comparison of the of the particular BMI of a girl or a boy in the given table. So likewise, you can also find out your own BMI at home and compare it with the this appendix given in your book. So let's now compare the countries based on the UNDP report, United Nations Development Program, and this report is based was published in 2018. It was based on the data that is given in the year 2017. Here are the countries like Sri Lanka, India, Myanmar, Pakistan, Nepal, and Bangladesh. All these countries are the neighbors of India. Fine. So we have a comparative table comparing India with its neighbors. We compare these countries under the column gross national income, which we will call the per capita income, that is in dollars, then life expectancy at birth, means of years of schooling of a people is 25 and above, means how many percentage of people above the age of 25 has been in the school. Then HDI, Human Development Index, rank in the world. So if we just have a look, India is standing in the second position in the table in all terms of like various columns. India, as per the per capita income, has 6,353, life expectancy 68.8, mean school years of schooling is 6.4, and the HDI rank that we are in the world is 130. So in terms of human development, India ranks in the position of 130 in the year 2017. Okay. So what is actually HDI rank? HDI stands for Human Development Index. HDI ranks in the above table are out of 189 countries in all. And so we rank in 130. We are in the lower ranges. Life expectancy at birth denotes, as the name suggests, average expected length of life of a person at the time of birth. We have learned about this from class 8 onwards regarding the life expectancy of an individual in a particular country. It is expected age of a group of people born in the same year to live a life. Average life that this group of people born in a particular year will be living in the world. Per capita income, as we already know, how we calculate the per capita income in our previous video, we have discussed it in detail. So it is actually calculated in dollars for all countries so that it can be compared. It is also done in a way so that every dollar would buy the same amount of goods and services in any country. So to compare the countries, every country have different currencies. So to compare these countries in a like income level, it has been considered to be compared in dollar. Okay, comparing the table, it becomes surprising for us that the neighboring country, that is the island and small country Sri Lanka, is much ahead of India in every aspect, and a big country like India has such a low rank in the world. Table 1.6 also shows that though Nepal and Bangladesh have low per capita income than India, yet they are better than India in life expectancy. Have a look in the table, you will find. In terms of life expectancy, Nepal is 70.6, India whereas 68.8, Bangladesh 72.8, whereas India has 68.8. So they ranks higher than our country in terms of life expectancy. And if you look at the HDI rank, it will be surprising that Bangladesh is only 6 rank behind India. We are 130 and Bangladesh is 136. So very close by. Many improvements have been suggested in calculating the HDI, the Human Development Index, and many new components have been added to the Human Development Report. Okay, the new component that we are talking about is the connecting human to development, prefixing human to development. It has made it very clear that what is important in development is what is happening to the citizens. Development of a country is not a matter that is associated with the physical boundary of the country. It is the development of the citizens. It is the activities happening within the life of the citizens. How the people of the particular country is living their life. What are their income level? What is their health situation? Okay, that development is made is very clear that what important in development is what is happening to citizens of a country. It is people, their health, their well-being, that is the most important thing. So to compare the country, actually we are comparing the citizens conditions of one country with the other. Okay, there are many other aspects that may rise in our mind regarding the comparison of countries for development. But this development that we are talking about, how far it is sustainable. So let's talk about sustainability of development. In recent years, various scientists has been thinking that the type and the levels of development are not sustainable. Okay, when we talk about development, a particular country where we are living, we got this country from our ancestors, right? We got it from our ancestors, we added to it and generated a new system in the country that raised the level of development of a particular of the country. It's not only in terms of India, it can be in any country in the world. A particular generation inherit a country with a level of development which they add on, increase it, and leave it to the next generation. But the scientists have a question here. They rose a question here that how far it is sustainable. In order to know that, we will be going with two examples. Groundwater, it is an example of renewable resources. These resources are replenished by nature, as in the case of crops and plants. However, even these resources may be overused. We have been learning from our lower classes about the types of resources. We have got that the two types of resources, but how long they are being available. On that basis, we have renewable and non-renewable resources. We have been learning most of the natural resources falls in the renewable and some of them are in the non-renewable categories. Okay, the renewable resources include the things or resources that are being replenished or reproduced in a very short period of time. Groundwater also comes in that category. Okay, but these resources can also be exhausted if it is overused. For example, in the case of groundwater, if we use more than what is being replenished by land, then it would rain, then we would be overusing these resources. There used to be rainfall. The water that comes from the rain, they seeps into the ground, percolation takes place, underground water get accumulated, we use it. This is a natural process going on. But if we overuse it, we use it up to the level not replacing it or not renewing it, not allowing the rain to renew it in a given time period, then it will be exhausted. Like it's like take an example of a bucket that you are filling under a tap, running tap. Fine. And you are at the same time taking out water from there with the help of a mug. You keep on taking out the water, filling some other things or using it for other things. The tap water keeps on running. The bucket is almost full, you takes out. It almost comes to a full, you takes out. It goes on, and at a time you'll see the bucket never completely fills. We are overusing it. Okay, non-renewable resources are the resources which already we know they don't get replenished in the human lifetime. So we don't consider them to be renewable resources. Okay, we have a fixed stock on the earth of such renewable or non-renewable resources which cannot be replenished. We discover new resources and replace the old that we are using and add it to the stock of the non-renewable resources. But over the time, even these new resources that we are discovering and replacing the one that were earlier non-renewable, that will also come to an end, that will also adjust. So to learn it in better way, let's go with examples. Example, groundwater in India. Recent evidence suggests that the groundwater is under serious threat of overuse in many parts of the country. Over 300 districts has reported a water level decline and over 4 meters during the past 20 years. Nearly one third of the country is overusing their groundwater reserves. In another 25 years, 60% of the country would be doing the same if the present way of using this resource continues. Groundwater overuse is particularly found in agriculturally prosperous regions of Punjab, Western UP, hard rock plateau areas of central and south India, some coastal areas, and rapidly growing urban settlements. So, overuse of water takes place in the agriculturally developed region, in the rocky plateau region, as well as in the urban settlements that have been growing fast. Okay, so the underground water, the way in which we are utilizing it, the pace in which we are being extracting the underground water is creating a threat for its renewability. Okay, we have been learning that for the agriculture, in our previous classes, we have learned regarding that in some places or the regions where the agriculture is much more developed, the water is also required a lot. We have been learning that the development of agriculture, the Green Revolution, resulted in overusing of underground water. It's a threat. Okay. So why underground water is overused? There are various reasons for overusing it. Over the years, it has been observed the amount of rainfall that has been received throughout the year has, in some places, has reduced. So the replacement of the underground water also has a threat now. Next example that we have is the exhaustion of nature resources. Okay, have a look on the table given. Here is a comparison of the two regions of the world and the whole world together. We have two columns to compare. How much reserves are there till 2017 and numbers of years reserves will last. Middle East, you can see that they have 808,000 million barrels of reserves of oil, crude oil reserves, and it will last for 70 years. United States, it has only 50,000 million barrels and it will last for 10.5 years. World as a whole, including India even, it has a 1,697,000 million barrels and it has an expectation to last for 50.2. Okay, the table gives an estimate of reserves of crude oil in column 1. More important is it also tells us how many years the stocks of crude oil will last in if people continue to extract it at the present rate. The reserves would last for only 50 years more. Okay, this is for the world as a whole. However, different countries face different situations. Countries like India depend on importing oil from the abroad because they do not have enough stocks of their own. If the prices of the oil increases, it becomes a burden for everyone. There are countries like USA which have low reserves and hence want to secure oil through military or economic power. In our eyes, the most important regions of the world where the crude oil is produced is the Middle East. You must have been reading in like newspapers or have been following the news regarding that how USA try to control this Middle East region both military as well as economically. Okay, so the question that will arise on the sustainability of development is like is crude oil essential for the development process in a country? To a large extent. Because if you see that most of the industry that is being running today are directly or indirectly dependent on crude oil. Okay, so there in India also we have a very small reserve of crude oil, which is not even sufficient for the country. So we are dependent on the import that comes from abroad. Consequences of environmental degradation that comes due to the overuse of resources is not like confined to a particular country or a particular region. The issue is no longer region or nation specific, it is for the entire world. Our future is linked together. Sustainability of development is comparatively a new area of knowledge in which scientists, economists, philosophers, and other social scientists are working together. In general, the question of development or progress is perennial. So, the thing that we are talking about, development, is based on resources, right? Either resources get exhausted, this development that we have will become perennial. Means it will remain for a certain period of time and go away, and it might come again. At all times, as a member of society, perennial, it is like it will remain, it will go on, it will follow, but how long? It's a perennial system in which the development will go on, the continuation, it's a continuation process. But how long till the resources are available? At all the times, as a member of society and as individuals, we need to ask where we want to go, what we wish to become, and what our goals are. So, development of the country is based on these questions still continues. The question on the term called development doesn't come to an end with this chapter. It goes on years after years, generation by generation. We'll discuss about like various ways of development and their comparison. Okay, here we come to an end with the chapter of economics, the development. Hope to see you in the coming days with new more videos on various other topics. Till then, thank you.